Welcome back into CyHawk Talk. It's the regular season finale, I guess. But postseason's already started, though. The conference championships are considered the postseason. But maybe Iowa State fans want to forget that there were conference championships on Saturday. Ben, is that kind of the prevailing sentiment after the Arizona State victory over the Cyclones down in Arlington?
Yeah, it certainly is, a forgettable game. The largest defeat this season for Iowa State, 45-19 loss. And I don't know, you can kind of look at it both ways depending on how full your glass is. You can say, hey, we were happy we were there. Or you can say, hey, we got embarrassed on ABC on 11 a.m. on Championship Saturday. So depending on how optimistic a Cyclone fan is, you could take it both ways.
Yeah, I think maybe if you told them at the beginning of the season, 10-2, going to lose the conference championship game. I think they probably would guess one that they're in the playoff no matter what, and two they would probably be pretty pleased with that. Unfortunately, as the way things churned out, not in the playoff, and probably fairly upset because when you get to 7-0, expectations tend to skyrocket northward, right? So, just what's your number one top takeaway from that game?
I think Iowa State's weakness all season, defending the run, finally caught up to him. And we'd seen it before against big running backs like RJ Harvey and Jalen and Devin Neal from Kansas. That Iowa State has a weakness there. And Cam Skattebo, if only somebody would have told you on Wednesday's CyHawk Talk that Cam Skattebo was going to have a good game because he ran for 170 yards. And he would have ran for 270 if Arizona State would have left him in the game. But it did get so out of hand, they let their star running back rest. Two runs, especially come to mind, a 43-yarder and I think a 47-yarder and a 53-yarder. He shook off four Cyclones on both. Season high 21 missed tackles. So I guess that is the kind of prevailing takeaway is Cam Skattebo beat Iowa State. And maybe a secondary takeaway as well. Iowa State had a heck of a season. I called it the second best season of all time for the Cyclones. But maybe at the end of the day, Arizona State was kind of the top team in the Big 12, whereas Colorado, BYU, and Iowa State were in a second tier.
It's interesting. Yeah, I watched the first half of the game, and the quarterback for Arizona State, Levitt, he seemed like he was greased up a little bit as well. Tackles were just kind of he was just kind of sliding through tackles, running through tackles, and things really seemed to turn on the no call. I mean, the obvious pass interference call in the first half that led to a Kyle Conrarty missed field goal. Things kind of seemed to turn there, and then when Skattebo through the incompletion where he was running around the backfield and just threw one up there, almost intercepted, falls harmlessly to the turf. No intentional grounding there because he had escaped the tackle box, but might have run back into the tackle box at that point. Those two instances seemed pretty big. Where do you feel like where do you feel the game really turned yesterday?
Yes, I'm happy you mentioned that second moment, Cam Skattebo's throwaway. It's crazy that we're talking about a throwaway pass from Skattebo as something that changed this game, but I thought it absolutely did, Ethan. I mean, Iowa State would have definitely forced a field goal attempt. We know that's been suspect with Arizona State this season. And instead, 3 plays later, Sam Levitt runs in a touchdown that was super deflating, I thought, for Iowa State. So yeah, I thought that was a big turning point. When you have Skattebo in your grips, it would have been a 15, 20-yard loss, and he's able to throw the ball away. As I understand the rule, once you leave the pocket, the tackle box, as a passer, it disintegrates. And even if you come back in to where it was, it's no flag for intentional grounding. And then, of course, Matt Campbell running 20 yards downfield to yell at an official about the no call pass interference. I think we can all say it was an uncalled pass interference. Pretty widespread agreement. I saw even on the TV broadcast that it was a flag, which felt huge at the moment. But when we looked back at a 45-19 loss, you realize, well, maybe that wasn't the only thing that doomed the Cyclones.
Man, if you are a Packers fan and a Cyclones fan this week, very niche audience I'm speaking to right now, but you hate referees. Ton of talk after Thursday. Green Bay fans pissed about the officiating, Cyclone fans pissed about the officiating. At the end of the day, both teams lost. Did the referees affect the game? I doubt the coaches would say that referees swung the game and you need to create your own opportunities, create your own luck, and win a game regardless of what's in your way. What was Matt Campbell's what were his comments like after the game?
I think generally in those conversations, it's kind of funny. I've been to two Big 12 championships in a row where the team I cover is handed a huge defeat. And both times I've been to those press conferences, Matt Campbell included yesterday, you're generally reflective, thankful for the season you've had, for the players that got you there, because it is an accomplishment. I think, especially in a 16 team Big 12, to be one of the final two standing. Matt Campbell was asked by a national reporter, do you think you deserve a spot in the college football playoff? And he said no. That's kind of the expectation. So he's certainly thanking his seniors and the players that got him there, and generally more reflective than going into details on anything that happened in the game. One thing our audience will enjoy is he was asked about the clock management at the end of the first half when Arizona State gets down in the red zone with a minute and 30 seconds left, and Matt Campbell has three timeouts and elected to use none of them as Iowa State kind of bled the clock. And I think as Arizona State bled the clock, giving the ball back to Iowa State with 30 seconds left in the half, down 14. Matt Campbell said in that moment, he felt like there was just a flurry of craziness happening, and he didn't want to give Arizona State the ball back. I think in hindsight, he maybe would think about that again, as the Cyclones were able to get a little bit of offense on that last drive. They got the ball to midfield, the 49-yard line, and didn't even elect for a Hail Mary. So one of those things that feels huge in the moment, but when you look back at it, the totality of the game, you realize Arizona State was the better team.
You took a picture, posted it on Twitter before kickoff of the infamous end zone with all the windows with the bright light shining through it. I commented on it. We discussed the blinding lights, but at the end of the day, it was lights, camera, Skattebo, as you predicted it would be. We'll go ahead and transition into some bowl discussion. The tackle box disintegrated. So did both of our playoff-ometers this week. It's over. It's done. They're defunct. We're going to need to replace the batteries, probably build a whole new machine by next year. So we'll get to work on that right away so we can give you guys all the prognostication starting right away in August next year. But bowl game, Tarts Bowl, to me, the best, the one that sounds the most tasty is the Tarts Bowl, right? So, Ben, what are your thoughts on that being the destination for the Cyclones after losing the Big 12 championship?
Yeah, nothing sounds tasty, nothing sounds fun, nothing sounds appetizing after you have a Fiesta Bowl potentially, or like Arizona State's going to the Peach Bowl in your grasp. It's always going to be a tough consolation prize. But as far as the matchup, I mean, a matchup against a ranked Miami team that was in the college football playoff picture for much of the year will be interesting to watch, and certainly a big marquee opponent at a bowl that I think has a general amount of respect, and it's on ABC a couple days in that prime spot after Christmas. So certainly a respectable bowl that the Cyclones will be able to go and take some pride in playing. And I do think there's going to be a lot of Cyclones taking some pride in playing that bowl. There's not going to be a lot of opt-outs from what we gathered. Jalen Knoll talking to us after Saturday. He said, I'm interested in playing. I want to send these seniors out the right way. He's a senior. He wants to go out the right way. It doesn't sound like Iowa State's going to have a lot of guys opting out or entering the transfer portal before that bowl game. How are things shaking out in Iowa?
Well, the Trans Perfect Music City Bowl at the end of December. It's only going to be the second time the Hawkeyes have been in this bowl game. We're last in it 2 years ago. Beat Kentucky 21-0. Very Iowa win. 2 defensive touchdowns. Held the Wildcats to less than 200 yards. So Kirk Ferentz opened his press conference today with saying we had fond memories. It was a good time last time we were there. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure it was a good time last time you were there. Fun trivia fact, Joe Labas, who just entered the transfer portal after, I think, 2 years at Central Michigan, maybe a year at Central Michigan. I can't remember 100%. He started that game for Iowa. So you just kind of look back at the quarterback history, and it's just been a revolving door. The QB spectrum needed to be started years ago. But That'll be the bowl game. They're facing number 19, the Missouri Tigers, who were kind of on the fringe of that playoff discussion maybe a month ago, and maybe some things didn't go their way down the stretch. Got to win over Arkansas to end the year, so it'll be an interesting matchup. I've only played Missouri one other time since 1910. So they've played 14 times overall. Only one of those matchups was after 1910, and that was in 2010. It was a win for Iowa. Missouri leads the series all time 7-6, so pretty even. If you want to really weigh matchups that happened in the 1800s that highly, that's where the series is at. The fun fact here too, since we're talking about trivia questions, is these two teams were supposed to match up in the 2020 Music City Bowl, but COVID-19 issues with the Missouri program shut that down and caused it to be canceled. So it's kind of like the second chance bowl almost at this point, that we're getting the matchup we should have gotten 4 years ago.
They should make everybody part of that 2020 team eligible. Let them all play.
Well, I mean, I'm sure people would like to see some faces from that 2020 team come back.
Iowa State and Miami have never played. So I raise you 1910. No previous history between the Miami Hurricanes and the Iowa State Cyclones.
I liked the way you framed it, because I think I saw that you called it like a consolation prize for the Cyclones for losing a spot in the college football playoff and the Big 12 championship game. And it's kind of that way for both teams. I saw a lot of Miami fans upset on Twitter when I was refreshing constantly, trying to figure out what bowl Iowa was going to go to. I saw a lot of people commenting about the Iowa State bowl game and how the mascot of the Pop-Tarts Bowl was bigger than Miami's opponent in that game. I was like, well, it's not really doing, that's kind of a pretty big disrespect on the Cyclones there. Did you see any of that discussion, and what's your thoughts on that?
I have not. You must be more tuned into the Hurricane fan base than I am at this point. But I did ask Matt Campbell about the opportunity to play one of college football's biggest brands. And he said we certainly respect what Mario Cristobal's done there, the 5 national championships that Miami's won. Maybe there's not as much national championships or great history in Iowa State's showcase, but everybody can be happy about an edible mascot. That's going to be awesome, Ethan.
And you're crossing your fingers that it's a blueberry flavored mascot. I've also uncovered on Twitter, which is possibly your worst take, and you've had a lot of them. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. Be sure to tune in on Wednesday. We'll have a little bit more, I'm sure, from both of these teams, and we'll also probably get into a little bit more discussion about basketball as both those teams ramp up. Iowa State, big win last week over Marquette, so their season certainly seems to be on the upward trajectory. But that'll do it for the Sunday Rewind. Thanks for watching.